All right, y'all. Welcome back to Monday Morning Productivity. We've got a couple people on here, so it may be a quick one this morning. I don't know if our two guests have any questions, but we'll see how it goes. I would just want to remind everybody that, we just have crossed the threshold. We're just outside the first week of the first new month. And so we should be, I would ask the question of what we should be doing, but for the sake of time, we should either have a graphic ready to roll out today or one that we've already rolled out that shows what the real estate activity has done the prior month. So what are the stats? What market are we in? Are we in a buyer or seller's market? Are prices going up? Are prices going down? It's our job to be, reporters on the market. It also shows that we're full-time agents. It also shows that we're professionals. It also gets us doing what we typically put off or just totally disregard, which is developing some level of mastery of the market. I can tell you if I'm working with luxury buyers on Smith Lake and I don't know what the average sold price per square foot is or days on market or any of that stuff, I'm screwed. I've lost their trust. And there's a bunch of other agents out here that live on the lake full time, have been doing this a lot longer than I have, that will gladly take my spot. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. I mean, we we need as real estate agents to understand that it's never going to pay us like a full-time job until we treat it like a full-time job. So you're never going to get the recognition that you want for your niche or your specialization or just a real estate agent in general if you're not going through the motions of a professional routine from day to day, right? So outside of it being a new month with new numbers, we were talking about interest rates going down. With the economy, where it just seems like it's inevitable, we're headed towards a recession. Blake was mentioning that we need this correction, although we may disagree upon how we're getting here. The prices has just been keep going up and up and up and up and up. It's supposed to be cyclical. The market is it's supposed to have pretty consistent cycles up and down where you're in buyer's market, seller's market. And we're like in most of the markets that I work, we're in like kind of like a buyer's advantage market. Some markets are still teetering on a seller's market. So it looks like we're headed towards a true buyer's market where folks are going to be able to buy houses again that have been priced out of the market or the interest rates have priced them out of the market. But, this is potentially a good thing for us. So it's really important for us, I think, not to hit the panic button, but it's also a great reason on why you need to maintain visibility in your marketplace and visibility through education, through information, through advising people. You need to take a financial advisory role to this. How does a 6.5 interest rate? Does anybody looked up the rates this morning already? How does a
Yeah,
six?
no, it's like 6.25, isn't it?
Well, FHA is at 5.94. Your 30-year conventional is at 6.28. So an excellent graphic in addition to putting out your, community sales graphic, your zip code sales graphic would be getting with your preferred lender and going, hey, how does a 5.94 FHA, what's the buying power differential between 5.94% and 6.5 or even 7%? I'd probably do both and just show the trajectory downward. That's how you create motivation in buyers, is give them a reason to get back into the market. So if you're not taking that advisory role, then you certainly don't need to leave real estate and become a financial advisor because you can't even check off these boxes, right? You're struggling with that. So hobbyist, Alex, I don't mind calling you out this morning. You're a hobbyist, all right? And this business is paying you like a hobby and you complain about it, but you don't do what it takes to make it a permanent, like a real profession and set yourself apart as a professional. All right. So that's just the hard truth. You want to turn the corner? It's easy. You just start following this playbook. It's like, if I was the coach of any football team across America, if we've got a great game plan, but the star players on the team don't study the playbook and don't implement the playbook and don't run the plays that work, you're never going to win. So until you get your head out your butt and start treating this like a job, like a profession, so every day you are putting out educational content, you are locating the best deals in the marketplace, you understand the buying power of the current interest rate reductions. How does this differ? I mean, new construction versus resale. Most new construction builders are offering 4.9. We're at 5.94, so it's a point above. What difference does that point make? Does it make a
Well,
big enough difference? These are things for you to understand and to know. And until you do, it's just going to be you're going to get, some activity here or there. It's not going to be consistent, and it's continue to be financial stress. Now I'll pause for a second and you prove me wrong.
who, Alex?
Yeah, or anybody. I mean, we really need some tough love. It's time for some
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
either that, guys, or like we need to just cut these productivity calls out. Because you're not becoming more productive, and so there's probably something else you could be doing that would be a higher use of your time, even if that's running errands.
Well, I think the bigger difference, I think that you're right, but like you have to do everything. Like I think Alex is attempting to build his network now with that church stuff, and that's real good. But it just can't be kind of a I don't know. You almost, I mean, the best way to say it is you almost have to be clocked in full time 24/7, right? You got to be networking. You got to be a student. You got to be a social media. You got to be it all. Or if you go the alternative route and you're trying to manifest it from one, it takes triple the time.
We would have to ask ourselves, like, why are we not consistent? I mean, the what we're talking about here is consistency. It's really not even doing it all, because you could be a sphere of influence agent and not network at all. You can be just a KD
Yeah.
as a content creator on the coast. And I don't know, I'm just continually watching his marketing level up. And you've seen his marketing generate or evolve from buyers to sellers, high end luxury waterfront homes on the Alabama Gulf Coast. That's purely because of his consistency with his marketing. And the problem is, I think, with the consistency, just being totally honest, and let's be just totally transparent with one another, is that you don't get the immediate results. So the
Sure.
results don't come fast enough. So you're just like, oh, fuck it. And then, you're suffering from financial anxiety again. And then you're having to get a pep talk like this and restart, your activity. And it's very crucial, I think, that we be hard on ourselves. If you need me to be hard on you, you need to go find a job where, you don't, I mean, you can be micromanaged. You don't have to rely on your own motivation to get the job done. I mean, you should just go punch a clock somewhere. That is the honest truth. You're just delaying the inevitable if that's the case. Okay. So what say you there?
No, I think that's 100% right, though.
It's 100% right.
Yeah, the immediate gratification, whether they admit it or not, is kind of the Achilles heel. I think there is a level of it too that everybody has somebody in their mind that they look at, and then you see them constantly hitting, and you're like, "Damn!" It's so easy to forget the climb. Year one, not having any deals. Year two, not having any deals of those people, and then all you see is them having martinis on the golf course, and you go, "Holy crap!" You know. I'll take just 1% of that. You just have to be, we used to talk a lot more about why, the why, the why, the why. I talked to Jose about that a couple of weeks ago when he came in, and I'm like, you've got to stop what you're doing and figure out your why. And he was like, it's probably my kids. And I'm like, man, it's not. Sorry. Like, your kids are great, but that ain't your why. Because your why's got to get you in the office, got to get you working until 9, get you, when you're hungover, picking up the phones, when you stayed up late and getting out of bed at 5 in the morning, your why's got to be bigger.
And it can be selfish. It
Oh
can,
yeah, yeah. It doesn't have to be noble.
yeah, it can just be like, hey, I want to buy something. Who cares what it is? Because everybody around you is going to win if this gets you motivated. You know, you just think about anything that we really, really want, we make it happen. We make time for it. You know, we're super routine with things that like give us immediate pleasure. And this is not an immediate gratification industry. It takes time over time. It's time on task over time. And so why this is so important, I think, for us to like really get our heads out of our butts is that we're headed towards fourth quarter. And fourth quarter, even though if you get just, an interest rate from the heavens, it's not going to help you because you haven't established trust in the marketplace. Nobody is looking at you as the trusted advisor. You're not even going out there and talking about. If I go to your Facebook pages right now, do I see anything about lower interest rates? So what are we doing? What are we doing? You know, we have an opportunity here to take somebody who has thought that they've been priced out of the market and immediately motivate them to get back into the real estate market and pursue this American dream. But it just doesn't happen organically. You have to make it happen. And that's why we use these analogies like these sports analogies and these actor analogies and musician analogies and things like that because these people put in a hell of a lot of time, years and years and years. I mean, we all think George Clooney was what, like 50 or something when his career took off. I mean, that's so much as waiting tables with the best looking waiter in the restaurant for a long damn time before he hit it big. He had plenty of opportunities to give up and go sell insurance or sell real estate or do whatever, but he stuck with it. You know, I can tell you just from a personal perspective that the lake specialization that I'm developing is riddled with frustration, roadblocks, and disappointment. The secondary market is a hard market to work because people don't have the primal need that they do for their primary residence. You know, this is not a matter of shelter and basic, health and safety. This is not nesting for the family. You know, this is a luxury purchase. It's a pleasure purchase. It is something that they want to get right. Like it needs to check way more of the boxes than it would ever need to check on a primary residence. You know, one of the things, people care about most with a primary residence, they got kids, a school district. So the house, can just be okay as long as we get in the school district. So I just continue to get up every day, setback after setback after setback, and plug away because I know it's going to work. I know eventually it will work. But in the meantime, I'm running down every lead I can, working every area I can. For instance, got up this morning, headed immediately to the lake to preview a lake home for buyers that live in Mountain Brook. I'm working with two doctors that are buying a house together, live in Mountain Brook. If I do a good job for them, who knows what they're going to say about me to people that live in Mountain Brook. But I'm leaving the lake right now, or after we finish this call, and headed to Trustville to work with a buyer in Trustville. So, it's not that you stop doing and running down every opportunity to chase a niche, but you're never going to be an authority on anything in the marketplace until you establish yourself as such. So, it's maybe a tough pill to swallow, but it's absolutely true. And I would just say this, it's okay to be a hobbyist. If Anissa gets her primary income from doing wedding photography and sells a house here or there, I mean, she's stoked. But if this is the only thing we got, if this is our only gig, we need to treat it with that kind of respect. We need to honor it, and we need to put ourselves out there. I mean, this is a profession where, you've got to be that public figure. You've got to be that public face. People want to see through our social media channels that we are extremely busy. Okay. And getting out and doing these things, getting out of the office, getting out and previewing properties, messaging people through Facebook. I message people almost on the daily on Facebook. If they're a business owner, I'm like, hey, you need some help promoting your business? If they're a vacation renter owner, I'll go, hey, you want some free marketing? If they're a FISBO, hey, you want some free marketing? Hey, if you're a FISBO, hey, you want me to list your house for like a ridiculous percentage? And I'm meeting a lot of people, okay, that are either extremely wealthy or no wealthy people or no people that like to build big portfolios with real estate. And it creates, opportunities. So the opportunities have to be created. You just have to look, I think, and look at somebody like, I don't know, whoever you idolize in the sports world or the musical world. I mean, like, let's just take Blake's son as an example. Blake, how many hours a day or a week? I mean, does Lennox put in a lot of time practicing his guitar?
Yeah, I mean, he does put in a lot of time, but like he needs to, like I told him, if you want to be really good, you gotta carve out an hour a day, not and sorry, because we just had this argument yesterday, me and him,
That's
where
all
I'm
right.
riding his ass. You gotta carve away an hour of meaningful practice, like not just playing the opening riff to Nothing Else Matters 15 times. That's all well and good, but like doing the boring shit for an hour, the I don't know what the hell it is, the where you practice your pitches, and he's getting better, but yeah, he doesn't he's got to practice an hour if he wants to be Kirk Hamlin, right? Like I tell him, like I saw, actually it's funny we're mentioning this because I've looked it up. Dave Mustaine was doing an interview, and he was talking about how when he get home from school till 11 till 12 1 in the morning, he said he'd just be upstairs in his bedroom playing his guitar. Like that's 9 hours a day for at least 4 or 5 years. And what did they say mastery equals at 1,000 hours?
It's 10,000.
10,000 hours. So like he was putting in 9, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean,
Well, and you think about this. I don't know if Alex is a big soccer guy, but I mean, whatever it is, whether you're pitching baseball, you're throwing the football, you're kicking the football, you're playing the guitar, whatever it is. I mean, the Dave Grohl, his biography was awesome. He talked about how before he even had drums, he was like using pillows, pretending pillows were drums. They would just sit there for hours and beat the pillows. I mean, these people, like, we want what they have, but most of the time we don't or are unwilling to do what they have done to get where they are. And that's the case with the pro real estate agents. I mean, Rodrigo, I don't know what he does every day. I know he's up early. I know he's a routine guy. I know he gets after it every day. So, you know, maybe we just don't have it. Now, I would want to go back to what Blake was saying about your why and being connected to what drives you. That is also primal in human nature, right? That's why we call, like, we use the example of hunt and gather. Like, if you don't kill something in real estate, you ain't going to eat. So it can either be, I think, a couple of things, right? You can either connect to your why, or you can also find something about this profession that you absolutely love. I know plenty of agents that if you ask them what their why is, they would be lost. They would be looking for something, like we've talked about, something noble or respectful or something that they think people want to hear. But at the end of the day, they just love the deal. Like, they love closings. They love closing checks. They love traveling. They love the lifestyle that the closings afford for them. And they love not having to answer to anybody but themselves. And so that's as simple as it needs to be for them, is that, it's all about the money and the freedom that the money gives them. They really don't like real estate at all, but it is a profession where, you got to put up with a lot of stress, a lot of agents that don't take their jobs seriously. They're routine, they're consistent, they're on fire because, it's all about the money. So, if you're broke and you're not following the tips and the strategies and the tactics we review on these calls, you just can't blame the market. You can't blame. I got an agent, real quick, Blake. I would definitely want to hear what you have to say.
Mhm.
There's an excellent, I feel like a very professional agent who is not getting the training that she needs. I just watched her switch to another brokerage. Like I've never reached out to her from a recruiting standpoint. I mean, I think she's one of these traditional agents that needs, a visible office in her marketplace. She needs an office to go to, but she's just made her third move. And I'm like, come on. The brokerage, this is not, it's not about the brokerage. It's about you. And, Stephanie Taylor, we had her as a guest a week before last, before Labor Day. And I asked her just flat, I was like, y'all discussing anything like this in your office? She's like, no. And I'm like, well, just suddenly like, well, could give you something to think about.
Alex says that's probably not that bad of a gig then.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I just go somewhere and they just let me sit there and stare at my computer?
Well, but that's what I was gonna say is don't feel too bad, Alex. This is the part Jason's not telling you. Everybody goes ups, downs, forgets what their why was, gets frustrated, wants it to work differently, and just staying in it is a little bit of a crawl towards it. But the real process is that you don't have to do it Jason's way, you don't have to do it my way, you don't have to do it Rodrigo's way, don't have to do it Denise's way, it's Chris's way, but you do have to do it away, and you have to fully dive in. Like you, and I'm not saying that you are or aren't, but what I'm saying is that you have to become like a crackhead on it. Like you have to think about it consistently and just figuring out a way, like set micro goals too. How do I break my first million in volume? Then next year, how do I break my first 1.5 million? Then how do I break two? Right? You have to keep on challenging yourself. And you guys are in your new infancy stages of real estate too.
Well,
Which is you're gonna listen to Jason and go, yeah, it worked for you, Doug. It worked for you, bud. Not for me.
let's pick on Chris for a minute. We talked to Chris. He's still got the same header. Doesn't have anything to do with like real estate investor specialist. His intro bio and his personal Facebook page hasn't updated that. So he is a real estate agent that focuses on Huntsville to the coast.
He's always on the phone. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's always on that phone. He just left here because he was on the phone. Always
And
talking to somebody.
And if you scroll down to, I mean, his last real post was August 31st. So he's not posting consistently enough on social media, in my opinion. But there is an excellent post here from August 31st. It says, stop believing you need 20% down to buy a home. This is the kind of educational content that creates home buyers. But again, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago? I was like, dude, you need to update your social around your specialization and go all in. He talked about how he is like awesome at doing these ARVs. I don't see shit on his personal Facebook page about, where he nailed his latest ARV. I don't see anything about here's, the hottest investment opportunity in Birmingham. So, with Chris, the conversation is not about necessarily him
Results.
Yeah, I mean he's getting results, but like he could 2x his business.
Yeah.
Right. So he's playing small. He's on the phone, that's great. Generate leads, that's great. But that's where the confusion was on our last call, where I was like, what does he want to be? An investor specialist or just a home buyer specialist? Because now he's buying all these leads and stuff. So, it was confusing for me. But we don't have time to go into everybody's Facebook account and what is the content they're putting out. But you see what I mean? It's like, you have to want to help yourself. You have to take massive action. And I'll give you this, because Blake mentioned like you've got to be obsessed with it.
A crack addict.
Yeah. I mean, it literally needs to be described as a passion, an obsession, an addiction. Go back and watch. You don't have to watch the full thing. Or watch or listen to the first part of the podcast interview I did with Justin Dyer. And I even mentioned during that podcast, I was like, I don't want this to be a realtor training podcast at all, but it kind of is, he was just talking about how obsessed he is with his business, how he thinks about it more than he thinks about anything else. And what is, I think, so important about that is Justin's already reached like the pinnacle. Like he's reached a level none of us have, and we may never reach even collectively. And he's still that passionate about it. He's still that obsessed about it. He talks about how he just obsesses about every detail, you know? So there you go. And what does that afford him? What is the lifestyle that affords him? I can tell you that he's got a second home. I can tell you that he's got two waterfront properties. His primary residence is waterfront. His secondary property is waterfront. He's got a number of rental properties in both Birmingham and Key West. He's got a couple really nice boats. He's got the nicest pontoon boat I've ever seen. So, he doesn't want for anything, and he's got a portfolio of real estate and consistent income coming in to where, he's going to live a comfortable life for as long as he's alive, and he's going to be able to provide for his family. If somebody in his family has a need, or, somebody he's close to, he's going to be able to meet that need. Are these things that we want? Do we want to live super comfortably? Do we want to be able to just on a whim, fly out to Las Vegas to see somebody in the dome for $1,200 a ticket? Do we want the VIP over the general admission? Do we have somebody in our family that's not doing well? Are we going to be able to take care of our aging parents? Like things like that. Like, are we, holding ourselves accountable to things that we don't even know that might be coming down the road? Tragedies that might be happening. All right. Now I can tell you another tip here of some content that we could be putting out, which I know the lenders are going to start doing, is refinances. As these rates start to go down, it's like letting people know that they can refinance. And most real estate agents go, well, if I'm not a lender, what does that do for me? Well, if you can help somebody save $100 to $300 to $400 to $500 off their monthly payment, you've earned the right to ask them for a referral. That's what it means. That's what it means. I did a really big favor for a guy up here at the lake who has not thrown me any bones. But I did a really big favor for him over the weekend, and I talked to him about it. I said, listen, this was a big favor. I went out of my way to do this for you, took hours of my time. I said, I think I've earned the right to ask you for a referral. And he's like, you know what? You're absolutely right. So I gave him, like 5, 10 business cards right there on the spot and said, hey, start handing these out. You can use whoever you want for your personal business. But if this guy's out and about all the time, takes people fishing all the time. If like got somebody on your boat who's fishing and they talk about buying a lake house, recommend me. Okay. All right. If we don't have anything else to talk about today, Blake, you got anything else?
Nope.
I would just take 10 minutes and reflect on what we've said today, and just like try to internally get to a place of real understanding about what it is that you want and what you're prepared to do to make it happen. Otherwise, it's just week after week of beating your head against a brick wall. All right, y'all. See you later. If you need me one-on-one, give me a call.